Hey everyone, welcome to Beat Around the Blockchain. This week we have a very special episode with my friend Liam Scully. He is co-founder in the project Maya Spirits, which is changing the narrative of NFTs through charitable projects. Their mission is to champion social equity and climate justice using the blockchain. And they've done some incredible things, partnering with Code Green, which is a sister project of World of Women, Vayner Sports, the Vayner Sports Pass, which many of my listeners are familiar with. If you're not, you should check it out. But they've made an incredible impact. They've been noted as the most impactful project in Mexico, with over 170 ETH to mothers and children in need, and plenty more, which we'll dive into. Liam, how are you?
It's a pleasure, Gabriel. Thank you for inviting me today. Always here to support.
Yeah, I was very excited to connect with you and find out that you're a listener and you've been checking out the podcast. And we had some alignment on kind of both of our goals and what we're looking to accomplish. Prior to getting into Maya Spirits, would love to get a little bit of background on Liam. Who is Liam? What is your background in prior to this project, and kind of how it led us up to Maya Spirits?
Sure. I grew up in Mexico, in Cancun, by a single mother, and my brother as well, called Jack. He's 2 years younger than me. We grew up together. And growing up in Mexico, I realized that it's a paradise, but there's also a lot to be fixed. By noticing that, that's when I really started getting into ways of helping the environment by starting by founding a business of reusable straws and bamboo toothbrushes, just as a teenage hustler, trying to find a way to make money, but also at the same time make a change. After doing pretty well there, I decided to go study international business in Holland, and from there, I was invited to VCon by our project manager Fred. He's actually very well known in the VFriends community, and after going to VCon, we met Ina Moja, who's the founder of Co Green and head of philanthropy at World of Women. And that really gave me the idea of how we can, in a transparent but also in an amazing way and fun way, raise funds and build a community to support people who actually really need our support. We've supported families in South Mexico in a community called Calakmul. And by doing so, we've managed to provide, job opportunities for the mothers and education for the children by building a school and providing an educational platform, and a lot more to come on that I'll share.
Oh, I love that. What do you think it was that drew you to a charitable project? And I ask that because in the context of when VCon initially happened, we were kind of in a transitionary period of, hey, is this a bull market? Is this a bear market now? There's still some projects that are just focused on money. A lot of the conversations I have now with people trying to come into the space are still financially motivated, and that is a big primary driver. But just in our conversations prior to this, off camera, it's very evident that it's not about the money, it's about the impact. So what do you think was the driver for that for you, and why you decided to go that route?
Great question. I would say I've been in this space for quite some time now, ever since CryptoPunks and then VFriends, and from there so on Moonbirds. I really did notice that there were some of the values weren't shared as they should be between the community. I really respect what VFriends are doing and World of Women and Moonbirds, but I did think there was a side of charitable NFTs that was missing. Unfortunately, we've all experienced or seen rug pulls or lies and being not being as transparent as promised. So we decided to launch a project where we share the values that are a priority in Maya Spirits, which is contribution and growth. So by us being a project for good, we don't want to be seen as a donation. We want to be seen as a project where when you contribute, you'll grow. By saying that, we believe we'll try and make as much value as possible for the money that you're investing in the project, which is by providing experts and workshops on sustainability, on business, and personal growth. And these things are really truly aspiring for holders, because that way they'll remain engaged, they'll learn what they're doing for the world, but also they'll be able to see the progress that's happening in Kalakmul. So it's a really interesting balance that we've managed to create. Um, there's been many charitable projects in the past, but it's just too much of a donation. You can just go online and do that yourself. But with us, what we try to do is make the people who invest feel as they're a founder too. We don't like being seen as founders, me and Lorenzo, just a path of expansion and just bridging two communities together where everyone has the same rights and saying, because without them it wouldn't be possible. We try to find a way to continuously give back after the mint. So we were very lucky to mint out. But from there we decided, how can we continuously grow? So we decided that 100% of the royalties will also go towards the NPO, the non-profit Integritat, which is the non-profit that backs Maya Spirits. So that way, every person who buys a Maya Spirits, all the royalties go straight for the families in need. So that's how we've been trying to do it so far. And people are very happy. Of course, it took some time to teach the community how it's not just a flip. It's not just you waking up to see the floor price, but actually you're waking up to see another smile on the child's face. So that's really touched a lot of people, and we've only, I think, 100 NFTs listed now of 3,000. So we're just here to show the world how NFTs can be used for good.
That's such a hard balance to strike, and like frankly, prior to meeting you, I wouldn't have thought it was possible. A lot of the communities are, it seems very black and white in some sense of, we're here to make money or we're here to build something / give back. We'll put them in the same category, right? So you're trying to strike a balance between the two of, hey, this isn't 100% only, like the only value here isn't just giving back. There's an aspect where you get to actually participate in that. You get to see the progress live by being a part of that community. There'll be more opportunities in the future that you'll get to take part in if you're excited about what we're doing and what we're building here. And almost I hate using the word, like, utility aspect of it, right? There's extra things outside of just donation and then it's gone. Right, and we'll get into the art. We'll get into the artwork side also, but
Yeah,
it's tough to balance that.
I think that's the only way, because as you see now, if you overpromise, then that's when everything will fail, you know. And what we're trying to do here is, okay, for doing this, we'll make sure that we do our best to make sure you feel something in return, you know. That we don't know what that will be. Maybe one day it would be financially, but what we want to promise first is an education through growth. And for $200, but for now I think it's $40 to receive workshops from Harvard experts, from global leaders, from the UN, meditation classes from masters from the Alps. These things are really interesting, and seeing the diversity of different areas that you can learn from is what we're trying to do here. And I completely agree. It's hard to balance, but I think through community, that's when you can listen to them, and you can also remove your ego and allow yourself to learn from them as well, because no one's an expert in this space. I would say we're all learning together, even as a founder.
100%. It's interesting hearing people call themselves experts. My hypothesis and point of view is, unless you've been here since 2013 and been active in blockchain tech since then and really like in the weeds as it continues to rapidly evolve, that's the closest thing to an expert we have. And there are very, very, very few of them. I have met one, and I meet a lot of people, and have met a lot of people over the last couple of years. And by no means do I ever consider myself an expert. I like to ideate, and I like to brainstorm and think of new ways to use it in the future. So I like to build, but like people who come in and they say they're the expert, I don't know. I think it's a load of crap. Anyways, on striking that balance, you know, I imagine you've had some kind of journey from mint to now, in terms of rotation of people coming in? Maybe, you had expectations set, but they were interpreted differently, or other people made their own assumptions on what would happen with the project. What was it like when you brought the project to market and decided to start, actually minting out? Tell me about
Yeah.
that experience and what's
So
happened since then.
so we minted the 11/11, which is the 11th of November, 2022, and that was the week of the FTX announcement.
Mm,
So we were very, very cautious of what to do. We're a charitable project. We're promising to donate over $300,000 to a charity, and for people to believe us after that, horrible news was really tough. I need to congratulate all our all our partners. That's regarding, you know, first from Vayner Sports, from Co Green, from God Hates, from my BFFs, the community of Moonbirds, the community of World of Women. It really gave us a lot of credibility in terms of trusting us. It took a long time to form these relationships, and to have them support us even that week was a risk for their reputation as well. So
mm,
it meant a lot to us, um, this support. We also had the spaces with AJ the day before Mint. He was aware of everything that happened as well, but the trust he had in Lorenzo, of course, and me was something that was very meaningful for us. From there, we were very successful, I would say. We managed to mint out in less than a week. Um, Unfortunately, the ETH price was very low. It was between 1,000 and 1,100. But we wanted to be as quick as possible in terms of, okay, this is where the funds went. This is the MPO of Lorenzo. We could have
mm,
easily waited until now, and it's almost double the price. But we think uh, what we did was the right thing, because we promised the families everything to start in 2022. So we couldn't wait. At the beginning of after selling out, the price was going crazy. It was double, almost triple the floor price, the mint price, sorry. And then when we started continuously sharing the same values, which is contribution and growth, and the side where we wanted to take things, many were in it for a flip because of the partners that we had,
mm,
and because of Lorenzo, and that's okay. In these times, if if finance is what matters the most, that's okay. We don't blame anyone. It's part of the market. But for a true community to stay after a month of minting, we feel like we've got an amazing community now. The floor price is lower than the mint price. We're aware of that. But I believe the reasoning because of it is because a lot of people aren't patient in this space. They want to see things be done in a month or two, because that's kind of the rhythm of Web3.
mm,
But we can't give over 200,000, 250,000, even $300,000 to an impoverished community in a month. Why? Because they'll be used in the wrong way. They're not educated, and it takes time to educate the people. That said, we still managed to do some amazing things so far. We've managed to build the first school in Calakmul, with over 20 computers installed, 2022 PCs. That was amazing. We've managed to install the best educational program in Latin America, according to the president of Apple, called Knotion is the platform. So we've started with the education for children. Now we're starting slowly to provide the salaries to the mothers, because that's the priority of this project, supporting the mothers and educating the children. The reason why we didn't give it to the fathers is because, actually, as a statistic, and also from Lorenzo's experience as a founder of Integridad, women manage money better than men, especially for families. So it was decided that we were going to give it to the mothers, and of course it does involve the fathers. And then from there we managed to pay over 34 years of salary to many families already in Calakmul. I don't remember the exact amount, under 10, but the goal is 50, so it's a progress of 3 months
mm,
where we distribute the funds. And from there, we've managed to conserve over 100 acres of land so far in the most important
mm,
jungle in Mexico. So that was it was a really beautiful process where you get to support the community, but you also get to support the surroundings. And from there, the holders of Maya Spirits get to see all of that. Their names are engraved in the study center of Calakmul. They get to interact with the children, with the families in a very organic way, of course, and putting the comfort of the families first. And it's just a beautiful progress where we've just began, and we're just very excited to see how more people can notice this and be a part of something that's meaningful.
What made you decide South Mexico?
I grew up there. I grew up in Cancun.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate growing up. But unfortunately, when I used to go to my football trainings, I realized not everything is as bright as I thought when I was a child. I saw many friends with no shoes. When we used to take them home, their houses were made out of metal and tinfoil. And that was just a few blocks away from where I used to live. So from there, my goal has been always, whilst growing, I want to do my best to give back to this area because it gave so much to me. It gave me a lot of happiness, it gave me a lot of purity and a lot of true values where I really fell in love with the place. So that's my goal.
I love that. And this isn't just about, like, the incorporations have been charity, education, giving back, but also keeping the people who own the NFTs involved in one way, shape, or form, and educating them. But there's also an art aspect to how you created this project. Tell me a little bit about that process and thinking on the front end of why you chose the art that you did, and what that really represents within the project.
Yeah, we're very proud about the art we've made. Well, the children actually. Um, as an NPO, we've been supporting this community for over 7 years. This is not something new. And after probably 3 art events, we noticed that the children are much more creative than even more talented than all of us, I would say. Um, so after seeing some of the children's art, that's where I got the idea of utilizing this art as an inspiration for the NFT. So every NFT of a Maya Spirit is inspired by the children that we're supporting in Calakmul. So of the 3,000, probably a third were original art pieces from the children. And then from there, we just mixed them all together and came out beautifully. Every animal, every trait, every headband of the woman were actually made by the children. So this was something that we're really proud of, and it's a really sweet video of the children making it, and they had no idea how impactful their art was going to be. So from my experience, that was the goal. It was to combine art and community and change lives.
I love that. How do you make something like that happen? Was this a scenario where even just this whole project in general, you just found this like more local area and you tried to find the people that you'd have to communicate with? Or are you just doing this completely on your own and there's no middle person helping you like navigate all of this? What does that look like? I've never been on the other side in depth of a nonprofit.
It's all Lorenzo. Lorenzo's been doing this for his values and intentions. He doesn't expect anything in return. That's why also from the royalties, everything goes back to the community. As a non-profit, well, it's a non-profit. He was utilizing his own funds for over 7 years with over probably $1 million invested in this community just to get them out of extreme poverty to poverty. So there's a lot to work on still, but from what he managed to do by himself, we utilize that as an example. And then when I got on board in terms of helping out in my free time, that's when I discovered that we can actually make something where all the world can contribute to this. We wanted to talk to the most experienced in the space, such as Ina, as we mentioned. She raised over $20 billion to reforest Africa. I thought she said million, but it was actually
Wow.
billion. Um, so we talked to her, the Co Green team, and actually the God Hates founder called Peters really guided us in terms of the Web3 side of things, and this really helped us in learning from the best because even though we had the experience from MPOs, we didn't have the experience of launching an NFT project.
Mhm.
And this is where we had to let our ego aside, as mentioned before, and learn from everyone that we respect in the space, and from there just build something where everyone's involved. That's the main goal. We don't be, as mentioned before, we don't want to be seen as founders, but just a you know a grouping of everyone.
What do you see as the crossroads between nonprofit initiatives and NFTs? Are they purely just means of gaining funds, or is there something more in depth with how they can be used? Like, if I'm somebody who either runs a nonprofit or I want to start one, and I am fascinated by blockchain tech, how should I be thinking through, okay, is this a viable way of me utilizing this? Was this an ethical way of me utilizing the tech? Um, are there different ways to use it? Like, walk me through, based off of what you've learned so far, where your head goes with that.
I would say NFTs are extremely difficult. Why? Because you do need a lot of experience of how Web3 communities work. It's not the same as a normal donation where the relationship is a one transaction um, source and then it's over and that's it. This is an ecosystem where you need to find a way to, as I said before, give back. Um, no one has the money to just donate and forget about it unless you're a multimillionaire. But as just a normal NFT collector, um, you need to be aware of what you're doing first of all. But that's down to the founders of the project. You need to be as honest as transparent as possible in terms of what you're promising to the community. And I think that's where it ends on what the founders promise. And then from there, I would say the awareness matters a lot. You really do need someone with credibility in the space for the Web3 community to trust you. Unfortunately, your words are not enough. You do need people to back you on what you're saying. Why? Because it's a whole different ecosystem, a whole different industry where you can't just join Web3 and in a week ask for $1 million. You can't do that, no matter who you are. So you need to prioritize the Web3 community and make sure they know everything that's going to be happening, but also at the same time prioritizing the mission and the project itself. You never talk about yourself. You never talk about I've done this. We've done this. It's more this is what we're going to do together. No one really cares, in all honesty, um, what you're going to say for an hour because that won't convince someone. It's the mission and the cause. And when someone aligns with what you want to do, that's where the synergy comes along. Not from promises, but from work.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, especially nowadays, can kind of see through the bullshit in the sense of like you go on a Twitter Spaces and you talk for long enough, people can usually get a good gauge of what the actual intent is behind the project. From the words you say to the excitement you have around the cause that you're giving to or supposedly giving to, right? And I think there is an aspect of credibility that can support that based off of what you've done in the past. What I'm interested in is ways that people in an existing, we'll call it Web2 nonprofit space, can leverage the technology and not just tap into the current NFT Web3 audience, but bring their audience along for that ride. Because something that really needs to ultimately happen is more onboarding, and these traditional companies are a big part of that because they already have the captivated audiences. And so like there's an aspect of obviously education, which we saw a great job an execution done by VFriends back in 2021. They were all over the education piece to onboard people. But then there's also the like that's education of how to do it, but why it's important. Like why are we making this move into this new technology? Because it empowers us to do more of X, right? And I think there's a piece that just people aren't talking about. We're so segmented and separate from everyone else in who we are and like the amount of people available, and the only way to change that is for these other big companies to come in. So if I'm a company that is running a nonprofit, an organization that's running a nonprofit, and I have, you know, a million people that are involved in my, we'll say audience, not necessarily community, right? But hopefully community. How am I thinking about making that transition, and why should I even like consider it?
Yeah, I would say as an MPO, the best thing about the blockchain is the transparency. A lot of projects in Web2 or fundraisings unfortunately suffer from a lot of FUD in the Web2 type of way of where are the funds going, how much is going for the team, you know, what's going under the table. And the blockchain doesn't lie. So you can see everything that happens. In terms of them transitioning into Web3, a bad example would be Porsche. You need to learn by yourself first what Web3 want as well. Why? Because they're already the ones there, so they will want to support in a way. So you need to learn what that type of community is, and what's the entry point of other projects similar or not even similar, just relatable. You can't just get into an industry and sell a product that's a million times more expensive than others. Um, so as an MPO, you really need to learn about what is other MPOs already in the space delivering. Um, that's for us the access to actually interact with the community of Kayak Mall, because even if it's, I don't know, Greenpeace or Leonardo DiCaprio's MPO, if it's just donate to me and not offering something back, um, it won't succeed, even though it has a lot of attraction. We've also seen examples as how education, like VFriends did. They did an amazing job at educating their community from Gary, I would say, from Instagram, from YouTube. Okay, this is an NFT. That's something that I think is crucial still. People still aren't educated on what they exactly are. I think many are aware of what Bored Apes are, and it's just an NFT
Yeah.
that's worth $100,000. So most people will think, okay, I can't afford NFTs. But that's not the case. It actually is something much different. So from there, I would say um, it's about education, it's about learning from your competitors, and it's about just making something new or innovative. You know, if we did something of just a fundraising, we wouldn't have raised over $1,000, I would say. You need to find a way to have art for the NFT. Personally, the Porsche one, that you know, it's just a car without anything really unique. Didn't make many people happy, but also the mint price didn't make many people happy. So there has to be a backing of the reasoning of the mint price as well. People know exactly what's going to happen with Maya Spirits by minting out, and the impact each NFT represents. So these are just examples. It's just learning from what already exists and trying to integrate something new and create a balance of both, something new and something that already exists, because in the end that's what people care about.
Yeah, and again, I think it just goes back to doing your research, right? Like the first thing that Gary told everybody when he was onboarding was do 40 hours of research. Like actually try and understand this stuff, come up with your own ideas and philosophies and hypotheses and things that like get you excited about where this could actually go, and then make your decision on how you want to participate, because there's a million different ways to participate, right? And I think it's a balance of having conversations in the way that are already being had in Web3 for that community to accept you as an outsider coming in and trying to get involved in this space. You don't have to completely change the game, but like add something, try something new, something creative, something additive. Don't just do a PFP like basic and that's it, right? And again, communicate with your existing holder base, your existing community or audience at least, what you're doing. Because that was something that I will say about Porsche is they did not have any communication outside of Web3 with what they were doing. They didn't talk to any of their existing user base. And that is a very typically well-off user base to bring into the space, not just to add finances to the space, but like people that would probably want to know. People who are into Porsches, and especially ones that own them, are in love with the brand.
Yeah,
Right. And for me and our CEO of our blocks, Eric Cauldron, he made a comment. He's like, I've wanted a Porsche my entire life. And he's like, I'm not gonna lie, them handling things the way that they did, it made an impact on whether or not I would buy one, right? Like, it's making me second guess it purely just because, like, why would the brand come in and do that to our space? And it's
yeah,
just
and
like,
the
it's
thing
so
is,
extractive.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The goal of these big companies is not to extract the ETH that is already in the ecosystem and leave. It's the mass adoption of teaching the ones who aren't in the space what NFTs are. This is the utility you'll get. In the end, this technique is owning a type of Porsche. Um, you know, this is an example of how you can buy it. That's where we need to improve. You know, educating those who aren't educated. But it really comes down to the same as how social media was and Facebook Marketplace and the drop shipping side of things when digital art ads started going in in the space and they don't really teach you these things. You need to learn them yourself or at a media agency, and that's where things get really interesting because you'll miss it, and it's unfortunate because I think people in the space think by not educating others, they're the early ones, and they'll feel better about themselves. But we won't grow if we don't educate others. In Mexico, as a project that made the most impact, it really got a lot of eyes on us, which was very, very fortunate. The Lead of Innovation awarded Lorenzo a national reward in technology and innovation, which was amazing, and he's in the Palace of the Nation receiving an award with the president of lawyers as well, and it was amazing. And these things that come on the news is just, it excites me, not because of us. We don't care about what we receive as founders. It's more, this will bring eyes to what NFTs can do and the impact it can make on global issues.
And that's why the intent is so important. And that's directly reflected in exactly what that statement says. I love it. In terms of, while we're talking about education, educate me on how NFTs or blockchain can make an impact on economic issues, maybe even beyond what you're doing at Maya.
Yeah, so as said before, the transparency of the blockchain really helps us not even talk. Everyone can see what happens by just following the wallets of what we've created. 170 Ethereum is a lot of money. Even during the bear market, there's a lot of people trusting us. There's a lot of people believing in the cause. And I believe no word is worth that much. So that's why I think the beauty of the blockchain is there. You see everything and where it's going, and then from there you can follow the bank statements and the transcripts, and that's how we can make an impact financially to global issues. Because even if we don't post anything, people will know who we are, they would know where it's going, and it'll be very easy from there to get in contact with the banks, with the heads of the communities, and ask, hey, did this happen? And I think that's the beauty of all of this. It's just the closeness of two communities in one, which is the Web3 or the investors, with the receivers. And in the end, it doesn't matter how creative your project is, doesn't matter how much you promise or who you partner with. In the end, what people most care about is we want to see the progress made. We want to see families happy. We want to see what we put our money in, and that's all done by following the money.
Well, what's interesting is you took it a step further. Obviously, the blockchain is a part of that. The beauty of it is the transparency that you get, and there's so many applications for this in every industry, in my opinion. But especially in the nonprofit space, typically you donate somewhere and you just hope that they're using it in a good way. But there's something different about being able to not only have proof that, oh, hey, this is going where I think it's going, but you taking it a step further and even understand or like having a space to show your community what's actually happening. So what has that feedback been like in your current community, and what are some of the things that you're doing either in Discord or anything of the nature?
At the beginning, it was a lot of people hoping that we would moon in terms of the floor price. Some people went for the wrong values and intentions, but that's okay. As we said, it's normal during a mint, with a lot of people backing us up. But after we started uploading the pictures and the videos of the progress being made, the tone of Discord, the tone of Twitter, the messages being sent to us have been just uplifting every day. It's truly amazing because they see the progress. Everyone's really happy. They don't want to list their NFTs because they know that represents this progress being made. So by listing and selling it, it's basically useless. Because you made a contribution already. Let's enjoy what this was all about together. So people have noticed that, as mentioned, only 100 listed out of 3,000, like 3% listed. From there, it's just community building as well. The community are supporting us and saying, "Hey, this actually would be an amazing idea of doing for Kalak Mall. I would love to come down and teach. I'm an electrician. I would love to come and support and fix the lighting around the school that we've built. I'm a gardener. I would love to form a football pitch for the community." Things like this that are truly like you didn't think so much will come back, And as I said before, I'm just a messenger, This is something where everyone is a founder and everything said is shared back to Yahaira, who's the head of the community, and it's just a way of having an NFT in your wallet where you feel good, but also you don't even check the floor price. You check more the posts, and instead of checking posts of someone for some alpha or to buy something quickly on OpenSea and shaking all night and waking up and seeing it went up or actually it went down 80%, you wake up in a happy mood. You see, oh, a new video. Wow, this is what I did. That's the vibe that we have now in Maya Spirits, and it's been amazing.
I hate how counterintuitive that feels to how so many communities operate today, right? You go into the Discord to see what's going on and where's the next buy or flip or whatever else. That's normal. A lot of the conversation.
We can't
look, like everybody, we're all adults. You can make your own decisions, but it's so refreshing to have a place for people to maybe even also they can have both, right? A place to go where you get to see, oh, hey, this is the impact that I'm making, or it's being made through this community. And it's so unique. A lot of organizations, I've alluded to this a little bit, where I separate or differentiate audience versus community, right? Because audience are just people who are listening to the words that you're saying. Community is a place where people get to participate in the building and interact with the brand or organization. And I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like there's a lot of power in that, in what you're doing, like having a community-based project.
Yeah. There's a lot of things where we wanted the community to participate in and actually engage. And the only way by doing that is by listening to them. We've opened also a channel in our Token Gated Discord where there's suggestions, and people really do put thoughtful, ideas and their own projects that they would like to share for these kids, and it's a way where people get to see the progress that they want to see as well. And from there, Lorenzo, of course, analyzes it with his experts and says, okay, this is actually possible. For example, the other time we wanted to list all the Maya Spirits holders and put them into the community. That was one of the suggestions, and one of our recent videos we managed to do that. And those are just like simple things that I'm sharing, but it does get the community going. It does make people feel good about holding, and yeah, that's the balance. I think Moonbirds are doing a very good job of that as well with their sub parliaments, and also Friends now with their new website of actually seeing the character building. I think that's something very cool. That's something we're doing as well in terms of the animal traits. Each animal will have different utilities within the project. We've announced the first one, which is the toucan. The toucan utility will be to have closer access to experts from Harvard, to have one-on-one calls on, business startups, on, how to identify business opportunities, how to stand out at a company. These things are all going to be accessible for holders. So it's just a win-win for everyone instead of just a win for Kalakmul, which is still amazing. But we're aware people don't have unlimited money, and we want to make sure we make as much value as possible.
Where do you think, outside of initial hype, partnerships with other established projects come into play? And how is your experience so far? What kind of impacts have you seen, positive or negative in some circumstances, where it's like giving value to everybody involved?
Yeah, I think it comes down to the values and intentions of the project you want to work with. There's no point of doing Twitter Spaces with everyone you can try with, because in the end, in all honesty, not everyone's going to align with what you're saying. Maybe one or two will, but all comes down to the founders as well. That's why we were really excited to work with the projects we worked with, because the true intent behind it was to help and to do good. And as mentioned before, these partnerships aren't just for minting and having a loud list spot, but we've got some very exciting plans for the year in terms of some of the projects and things we're building together.
What are some of the things that you can share? Maybe not necessarily just partnership related, but what's coming down the pipeline for Maya Spirits, and anything else that's even further off in the distance but top of mind for you that you're really excited to kind of build on?
Yeah, first of all, the most exciting thing I think we're going to be able to do is provide technology now to the community of Kalakmul. I can say this, we're gonna be able to install Starlink devices around the whole community to provide signal and Wi-Fi for the children and for the parents, so that they can have access to Wi-Fi and learn from the platforms that we're providing them. That's number one. I think that's one of the most important. Number two is this year we're going to be able to confirm and say hundreds of acres of land are going to be in conservation, and they're not even in our ownership. They're in the family's ownership, and this was only an agreement by us supporting the families. They'll allow us to conserve the land that's around. Number three, I would say, is we're going to provide a sustainable economy for the entire community by teaching the mothers how to create honey, how to produce coconut oil, how to create protein out of fungus, and that's going to be amazing. And we believe in less than 5 years, it's going to be self-sufficient, and they won't need any of our support for generations to come. So that's Kalakmul. For Maya Spirits, we've got some very interesting things coming. I would love to say we're going to start doing POAPs. for our community members, where these POAPs will have a lot of utility in the future. That's coming with access to certain things that will be published. That's going to be access to certain drops in terms of not mints, but by um, rewards that they'll have just by holding a POAP. So it'll be free, claimable for free. And then from there, we're also planning to get into the metaverse. Um, I think people know which one already, but I don't want to say it yet. But that's the plan. You're going to be able to see the jungle itself within the metaverse with the exact hectares of land that we're conserving. That's plan number two. Plan number three is the apparel drops. We have one planned, a personal one coming up soon, but we've got a very special one that we're still in the talks with a very, very close group of friends of ours, of a partner that's already with us. So that's something that's in the talks as well. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of more exciting things to share, but I like keeping people on their toes and keep people believing in us. And hopefully we will manage to do something soon with you, Gabriel.
Absolutely. Excited to dive into it. Liam, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, man. Really excited to check out more of Maya Spirits. I'll put link in all the descriptions wherever you're listening to this, so you can check out the project on OpenSea, the website, and follow along with my man Liam. Looking forward to connecting with you more outside of this, Liam, and for everyone listening, thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you, Gabriel, so much, and thank you for everyone listening. Have a good day.